No. Jesus Christ, Doc.
You and Jennifer both turn out
What are you talking about?
You and kids, Marty. Something's got to be done about your kids, Marty. Get in the car. Marty.
I gotta check this out, Doc.
Good time, Marty.
I am rich, though, right?
Marty, please, take off your shirt. Marty, put on this cap. Marty.
I don't get it. I thought you said this had something to do with my kids.
But I think this movie does such a good job of what I'm going to call spinning plates to have a sleight of hand. Because there's so many things that are happening. You're just trying to keep track of it. And then before you can even process it, you accept it. When Doc leaves Marty to go pose as his son, he's like, oh, I'm going to go do something. And I was like, wait, what's Doc doing? Like, where's he going? So I rewound it.
Wait a minute. Where are you going now?
Let's accept the real Marty Jr. You're taking his place around the corner at the Cafe 80s. Guy named Griff, just say no.
And then Marty Jr. shows up to the cafe. And you're like,
yeah.
I thought it was a plot hole, but later on, it's revealed that there wasn't enough charge on it because he already used it on Jennifer. And he says that.
Great Scott, the sleep inducer. I was afraid of this because I used it on Jennifer. There wasn't enough power left to knock your son out for a full hour.
It's almost too messy that it comes out clean. Like, there's so much, like, plot holes, and they're like, wait, but if I go back and pick up on all these layers that they were throwing my way, it actually kind of lines up.
Yep.
And be like, you were looking at this, so you didn't even catch the reasoning.
Hey, Doc, you better back up. We don't have enough road to get up to 88.
Marty!
Where we're going, we don't need roads.
Here you go, Marty.
Wait a minute, Doc.
Relax, Marty.
Wait a minute, Doc.
Don't worry, Marty.
Doc!
Marty!
Doc!
Marty!
Hey, what's poppin', you time paradox pop heads? Welcome back. It's Just Play It. It's the best podcast ever. We are back in the DeLorean. I am Dr. Pop, and I'm hanging out with my best buddy, Marty McCorndog over there. It's not a special at McDonald's. He's my best friend and my co-host, and he is ripping through time with me in a very irresponsible way, if I'm being quite honest. I'm Captain Pop. I'm James. I'm a host. I'm here with Nick on a stick, deep fried. He's live. He's here. And he's ready to just mess with time because it's so funny to do that.
It really is. Thanks for the intro, James. I'm Nick. I'm the corn dog. Not like Einstein, but a little more battered than that. Battered through time, ripping through the time stream. DeLorean, I don't even know. We're screwing up the whole timeline here, James, because like you said, we're going back to the future, part 2.
Part 2 on the franchise of the year, Nick. Finally, I get to bring in my Lego DeLorean back into the spotlight here. So let me just bring it out. Oh, God. Okay, I did make the necessary Back to the Future Part 2 updates. You'll notice this one has the Mr. Fusion in it. You can open this puppy up. What's inside?
You got trash?
It's a little adorable tiny banana for trash. And adorable little soda can. You can see a little pop top lid right there.
Oh,
so that goes into the Mr. Fusion for when you need fuel. Bam. That's all there really is. Oh, except the most important part here. Flight mode. Oh, yeah.
Oh, man.
Now we are ready for action. We are ready to not even need any roads. So I'm throwing this bad boy back here. It's going to be with us. It's going to be part 2 until we hit part 3. Because this is the franchise of the year.
I would expect nothing less. And if you're listening to us and you're thinking to yourself, what is even happening right now? That's because you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel. We have our channel there. It has all the video, all the audio, all of the fun editing tricks and magic that James goes ahead and does. Puts a lot of work into it. So highly recommend getting your ass over to YouTube and seeing James's beautiful face. Mine pretty average, but see the DeLorean in its part 2 mode, ready to go. It's lighting up and you can't see it unless you subscribe. Hit the subscribe button, like the video, comment on the video, tell us we're great, tell us we suck. We don't care. We'll respond to you.
Yeah. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We never say that. But yes, Nick, like you said, we are on Instagram and YouTube at Just Play a Podcast. We are on X, aka Twitter, at Just Play a Pod. All right, Nick, so we have quite the job this time around. We have to go through a iconic movie, crazy movie. So let's go ahead. Let's get started. New tradition. We got to hit the audience, hit ourselves with our pre-pop scores. So this is our gut reaction scores. just the number that comes to mind right after viewing it. And then after we discuss this movie in full, then maybe we'll have a different finalized number by the end of this movie review breakdown podcast.
You give me the countdown. You tell me when you're ready.
Absolutely. And after I see that number, I want you to say less, but 3 words. Give me 3 words of what comes to mind after watching this movie, why it's a 8 point whatever, a 9 point whatever, or a perfect 10 or 7. Who knows? Nick, on the count of 3, show me your pre-pops and then give me your 3 words. 1, 2, 3. Nick, you are showing, not sure where yet, but this is a 9. Can you give the audience 3 words?
I'd love to. I will say innovative, chaotic, and fun.
I love that. I love that.
All right, James, your turn. Pre-pop. I need to see your score. And I'm going to give you a little countdown here. Are you ready? 3, 2, 1. James, you say it. Just nothing crazy, just Back to the Future Part 2, written in beautiful lettering. Subscribe to the YouTube. And you're giving it an 8.9. Love it, buddy. All right. Give me those 3 words.
Most iconic sequel.
He said it.
I said it. I gave Back to the Future OG an 8.9. I thought this was right on the same level. So that's where my baseline is for the moment.
I think that's a great place to start. Now let's get into the movie, James. What do you say?
Let's do it. All right, Nick. So this movie was directed by friend of the show, Robert Zemeckis, because obviously he did Part 1 and he did Romancing the Stone, which we reviewed last year. And this is going to go ahead and be written by the Bobs again. Team Bob Squared, Robert Zemeckis and Bob Gale. They're both back from Part 1. It's going to go ahead and star Michael J. Fox, Christopher Lloyd, Leah Thompson, and Thomas F. Wilson, all friends from Part 1. And Nick, the estimated budget for Back to the Future Part 2 was $40 million, and it ended up grossing $332 million. God damn.
Oh boy, that's a successful sequel, especially for the 80s.
Yeah, and I think it was Universal's idea to get a sequel out because of how well the first one did. Obviously, the Bobs were almost reluctant, or just like, we weren't planning on doing it. We kind of ended it on a joke, is what they called it. So when they yeet off into the sky and say, "We're roads where we're going, we don't need any roads," and then we're just like, oh, they're off to another fun, wacky adventure, and we'll never know what happens. But Sid Sheinberg, our unk of the show, residential unk from Back to the Future Part 1 and dual lore, head studio honcho at Universal, he's like, we need a sequel. And then so Bob Gale and Robert Zemeckis are like, all right, well, I mean, we're only going to do it if Christopher Lloyd and Michael J. Fox are in, and then vice versa with Michael J. Fox. I want to say that Michael J. Fox was watching the video, the VHS of Part 1, and then they added those 3 words, "to be continued." And then apparently he called his agent. He's like, am I in this? We doing this? Let's go, baby.
That's awesome. Well, it's so iconic, and that actually makes how good Part 2 is even better, to know that the writer and director wasn't necessarily fully on board with making this a sequel, let alone a trilogy at that time. And to say, okay, I guess I'll do it. Usually the heart's not in it. It's not full of passion, but Bob Gale and Robert Zemeckis are so damn talented that they were able to still come out, say, fine, I'll do it, and just come up with another banger. Because usually stories that start like that end terribly in our experience.
Come up with a banger they did, Nick. So I like to give Bob Gale a lot of credit for Part 1, because it was his concept when he went back home to Chicago. And he saw his dad's yearbook and thought, I wonder if we'd be friends in high school. And then that kind of sparked the idea for Part 1. Part 2, I'm going to give a little bit more credit to Mr. Zemeckis, because I do have a quick little backstory development about this. Obviously, it wasn't like a crazy, how did this get made, like Part 1 with Robert Zemeckis going down south of the border to direct Romancing the Stone. And then it got pitched to Columbia, got shelved on Columbia. And then the head guy at Columbia, what's his face? Guy McElwain was like, I need some help. I need this. And then Frank Price, the past head of Columbia, current head of Universal at the time in the 80s, was like, well, all right, well, I'll give you this if you can give me the script for Back to the Future. So it's just like crazy crazy story of how that movie got made. This one's more like Universal said, hey, we need a sequel. Let's go. We're making money, baby. Not much to discuss there, but the original story, Nick, Bob Gale wrote a version where in the third act, Marty travels back to the 60s and Marty's mom is protesting the Vietnam War. Marty gets thrown in jail and Zemeckis wasn't super on board with that draft. And he basically said, hey, we have an opportunity to do something incredible, which is to go back to the first movie and revisit it. That'd be so cool. No one's ever done that before. And then so Bob Gale agrees and says, yeah, that'd be fire. And this is where Zemeckis also added on the Old West storyline after the 1955 sequence. But that made the movie way too long. I think Spielberg said it was like 185 pages. So they handed it to them and said, we know some stuff needs to get cut, but just read it. So this ended up filling out the trilogy. And then we'll see that Old West storyline play out in part 3. But they did shoot part 2 and part 3 back to back in the span of 11 months, according to Gale. So I'm thinking that all the pre-production, post-production, maybe like a month break, a 3-week break somewhere in between, just a whole year of part 2, part 3, because these did come out in 89 and then 1990, I believe.
Yep, you're correct.
When they weren't planning on making this a trilogy, let alone just a sequel, they had to get really creative, and I thought they just executed it, spoilers, perfectly, because it's just so wacky and insane. And James Tolkien, who plays Strickland, who is the principal at the Hill Valley School, he said that doing the second was his favorite because it was so insane. Just the circumstances were crazy. His small part in it is so great. Yeah, we'll get to that when we explore it in plot talk, but that
might be one of my favorite characters.
Yeah, this movie is so crazy that it worked. And I've seen this movie a lot of times. So as a kid, I loved the 2015 sequence because it was so fun to see what they were imagining the future be like. And then we're like, what wacky little things are they going to come up with? And it was just very entertaining and just a joy to watch. But interesting words from Zemeckis here. Just to paraphrase him, he says, I never like future stories or alien stories because they're the opinion of the filmmaker. It's just stuff that writers can make up. So in my opinion, the future sequence is the least interesting to do in the entire trilogy. So he's talking about making up like inventions or sci-fi stuff, because you can kind of just make up stuff where it's like, well, how does this work? Oh, in the future, we made this specific device that solves this problem. So I think that's his angle. But it's funny because I had the exact opposite feelings towards the movie, especially at a younger age. My favorite part was that first act future sequence with the hoverboards and the flying cars and just the little funny things that they were kind of poking fun at the 80s. And so that was, I love the future sequence, but it's just interesting that Robert Zemeckis wasn't a fan. But I kind of understand where he's coming from.
Yeah, he's a purist. Totally understand that. But I think what made it work, and we'll get into this more when we hit in the plot, but it's kind of what he was saying. They didn't take themselves too seriously, right? They weren't trying to make this crazy future where everything's perfect. There were silly inventions, silly advertisements around. And something they did that was really interesting was they just made a future version of 1980, if that makes sense. Like the buildings were kind of the same and the people were the same. And it was the same stuff, just a little more futuristic, right? Like it's not a skateboard, it's a hoverboard. It's not a car, it's a flying car. So everything just got upgraded a few steps. They didn't like go crazy with all of these new inventions.
Same with the clothing. The clothing was still very 80s. It was just very future 80s. Like It was still kind of like vibrant and out there.
It's a great way to do it.
Yeah, they made comments on this saying that a lot of the future movies that came out, especially at that time, were either dystopian or they were very utilitarian and very organized, and everything was just chrome or silver, and everyone wore white outfits. So they thought, no, we're just gonna it's chrome. So they thought, let's make basically just like a slightly upgraded. Now there's some funny hot takes and cold takes as far as the inventions. I want to talk about that before we get into the plot here. But I thought they did a really good job. I think in the script, it simply said Hill Valley has improved for the better. That's why there's a pond in front of the courthouse mall. It's a mall in the future. But in the 55 version of Hill Valley, it's a grass park. In the 1985 part 1 version, it's just a parking lot. And then in this 2015 future, it's like a nature pond, and they're trying to be a little bit more kind of eco forward with the design of the town. I thought that was really cool. But Nick, I gotta talk about just those future things real quick. What's something that they actually called and got right, and what did they get totally wrong? And then what do we need that it hasn't been invented yet in this 2015 future through the 1989 lens of the Bobs?
Interesting. Something they got right, I'd say, would be like real-time video calling, right? Like in 1989, that was not a thing. But when he's talking to overseas businessmen and talking to his business partner, all of that on a TV, it's basically Zoom. So it's like a video telephone was a concept that they nailed.
Like VHS video quality.
Yeah, exactly. It's grainy. Like maybe they were like, that was like 2007, technology.
Yeah, we're
but
still using videotapes.
Yeah. What do you think? What did they get right?
I didn't think about the video calls because that's just so natural to us these days.
Right?
I was like, I didn't even think about that. But I thought they almost have this like tap to pay system. Because when Biff pays the cab driver, I thought he used a card, and I was like, what the hell do they call that? And then no, they didn't. He used his thumb. So it's a finger scan, and he taps his thumb to pay. I was like, oh, they kind of got that right with just like the little beep. There you go. Stuff they got totally wrong was a lot of it has to do with phone lines. Like there is still pay phones in Hill Valley Square. There is fax machines. There's no cell phones. There's a home phone. Like when they go to the future Marty and Jennifer's house in 2015, everyone's connected to the phone. And like Marty Jr. says like, oh, the phone's ringing. And then Marlene McFly, the daughter, says, Dad, it's for you. It's like, oh, we're still in the mindset that we're not going to have cell phones, and everyone just has an individual phone on their person. The phone technology, they just couldn't comprehend. They couldn't make up anything.
It'd be so
crazy.
hard.
It was like we still have fax machines, we still have a connected landline, and there's payphones out in the wild.
Yeah, it would be a hard concept to call. Obviously, things like hoverboards are an easy thing to say they got wrong, and or flying cars would be something they got wrong.
Yes, yeah, the flying cars are egregious.
Some of the very obvious ones. Some of the very obvious ones there.
I was thinking more of like, what technology did they think was going to be futuristic? And then looking at it now, it's like, that's so dumb, because why don't you just have a cell phone? That's what I'm talking about.
You know what they almost got right?
What's that?
They almost got right in the diner when Marty goes up to the counter and he's encountered by that like Ronald Reagan TV screen, and he orders through it, and it's clearly a robot. Like that's AI. That's almost an AI interaction.
I thought about that.
They're very, very close. You're like, oh, you're talking to a robot that actually is understanding you and answering you in real time.
And they kind of got little robots driving around now, and you can tap the screen. So
like self-service kiosks at restaurants, like McDonald's is doing that, right? You don't even need to talk to a person. You just kind of.
I think what we need from this future that we have never gotten yet, obviously, hoverboards. I don't know if we are ready for flying cars. I think we need to nail down real driving first.
We're not ready for regular cars. Yeah, not even close.
We need to master 4 wheels on the ground at all time. I don't even want to think about a bunch of yahoos with their space licenses. That sounds like just a death trap.
Yeah. No, thank you.
What I think we do need, besides hoverboards, because those would be awesome, what I think we can get now is, I don't think that's crazy out of the realm. I liked the lit up curbs at night. I thought it looked cool. I was like, we could do that. Like the red zones and the parking zones. I thought that just looked cool. The barcode license plates, I thought, that's cool, because then you could just like scan your license real quick.
Yeah.
And the cops have scanners. So if someone does like a hit and run or whatever, you could just like whip out your phone. It's like a QR code, something like that. It just looks cool, looks cleaner. I think we need the auto laces. We need those power laces on the shoes. We could do
auto
that.
Laces are tight. I feel like that curb thing we're probably about 2 to 3 years out from Japan having that. I feel like I'm going to see a video of Tokyo in a couple of years where they do that. That really feels like something they do.
They'd be the first to do it, for sure.
I'd say the self-fitting jacket along with the shoes. We just kind of hit a button,
the drying,
and it tightens the seat.
And then
the drying feature, you're getting out of the water and just, nope, you're dried. The other thing was Griff. Was future Griff, was he like an android?
Doc said that he had bionic implants.
Okay, bionic implants. I don't feel like we're that far away from that, though. I feel like we're pretty close to bionic people. So I'd kind of into that for people who need it, not for people like Griff, obviously, but someone who lost an arm.
I think he had him installed illegally.
That would check out, because whenever Marty hits him, you get the metal clanging sound, and when he kicks him in the nuts, he gets that metal clang.
It's like
this guy has titanium sack, which I'm not saying we need titanium sacks yet. We're not there yet, but
it could also just been like a cup,
If he's walking around with a metal cup on, he's more of a psychopath than I thought he was.
No, his were super illegal. But yeah, no, a lot of fun things in that future sequence, which I'm excited to get to. So, Nick, we have a jam-packed episode here, Back to the Future Part 2. What a job to do this movie justice with. So let's go ahead. Let's get into it. Nick, can you do me a favor and read this log line?
After visiting 2015, Marty McFly must repeat his visit to 1955 to prevent disastrous changes to 1985 without interfering with his first trip.
Whoa. There's a lot. We're over here. We're over there. We're over here. He over there. And we're going to get there. We're going to get here through many different ways and many different DeLoreans in that plot talk.
All right, James, we're jumping in October 26th, 1985, and we start right where the first movie ends. And we have maybe like a 30-second to a minute overlap of the previous footage from number 1 right into number 2. And I got to be honest with you, I love this. I don't know many sequels that do this. A lot of times you're wondering how much time has passed between then and now. Maybe they'll give you some instructions, our favorite plot device at the beginning that tells us what's going on. No, not Back to the Future Part 2. They are sewing these two stories together, and it's seamless. And they're saying this is just a straight continuation of what you last saw. It's beautiful. It's all they're doing reused footage, intercut with new footage. It's wonderful.
It's really impressive. I did watch a side-by-side comparison on YouTube of the ending to Part 1 to the beginning of Part 2, and they do a fantastic job recreating it. So the reason they recreated the ending to Part 1 to be the intro to Part 2 was actually because of a recast. So Claudia Wells, who played Jennifer in Part 1, unfortunately couldn't return to Part 2 due to personal reasons. Her mom was diagnosed with cancer, and she had to put her acting career on hold. I want to shout out Super Mario Bros. 3 on our YouTube, because he brought up something really interesting about the casting. Because I think in Part 1, I talked about the Eric Stoltz casting, and then they had Melora Hardin as Jennifer originally, who's Jan from The Office, and then she was deemed too tall for Michael J. Fox when he was recast, so then they brought in Claudia Wells. Super Mario Bros. Brought something super interesting to our attention. So on our Back to the Future video, he commented, actually, in regards to Melora Hardin, who is good friends with actor Patrick Labertove, set the record straight recently and said that Claudia Wells was cast first as Jennifer Parker, but had to leave the production to work on a TV pilot.
Tell me exactly what happened.
I did audition for Back to the Future. I did get the part of Jennifer Parker when Eric Stoltz got the part of Marty McFly. And then a series I had done called Off the Rack, actually a pilot, got picked up to be a series. And ABC refused to share me with Amblin, Steven Spielberg's company. So I had to back out from my part as Jennifer.
So Back to the Future was spoiled like many times because of TV shows. There's actual proof of you and Eric that you work together. Can you explain this photo?
Oh, yeah. So they had a photo session of us at the back lot of Universal Studios because in Marty's wallet, there was going to be a picture of Marty and Jennifer.
Great Scott. And that's just Part 1. I did watch that interview where Claudia Wells does set the record straight. It is linked on that comment for our Back to the Future Part 1 review. Fans of this movie are always going to dig up fun little details about casting. So something about Jennifer Parker, man, she's just hard to nail down, because Claudia Wells apparently was brought in first, and then it was Melora Hardin, and then it was back to Claudia Wells, and now we're bringing in Elizabeth Shue, who is Madeline Stillwell from The Boys. That's the only other thing I recognize her from.
Actually recognized her from it. Yeah, I go, well, I've seen that face before. And then it clicked from season 1 of The Boys.
They're recreating the ending to part 1 perfectly for part 2. I just want to point out some things here. This is pretty much a shot-for-shot remake. They do revisit a lot of scenes from part 1, but this is the one that closely replicates the footage and the editing from part 1. So I just want to point out some key differences here, and just little things I noticed when I was watching it side by side. So the truck that's in the garage, the Toyota 4x4, it actually has a different license plate, and the license plate in this one, I think it's just like someone probably just didn't think about it. No one confirmed it, but the license plate does start with the number 2, and then the 3 letters after it are BAK. So I was like, 2 back, 2 futurists? What? Were they dropping an Easter egg on the license plate? The garage background on the interior is just a little bit different, but it looks like they were at the same exact shooting location.
This is where the internet, as like back in the day when you thought, wow, somebody would have to go home, pop in their VHS of Back to the Future 1, memorize this ending scene, then bring it back and go to the theaters and then watch it and point this out. And then there was no forum or anywhere to even tell anybody. You just had to tell your friends the license plate's not the same on the cars, and no one would care. Where I just, that level of detail, just probably somebody may have even brought it up, and Zemeckis was like, nah, that's fine. It's fine. Just like, don't worry about it. What are you talking about?
Pause a video with crystal clear definition? No. I feel like we would do that. If we grew up in that era, we'd probably get 2 TVs. We would lug 2 heavy TVs in side by side in the living room, hook up 2 VHS players, and put both VCRs at the same time. Be like, okay, play it. No, play it at this time. Oh, we missed it. No, play. Oh, pause. Play. We would do it. We would notice that.
We would. It's funny what like the level of detail we have come to expect, especially like movies we've watched, like Star Wars and things, where lore and very minute details, like back in the mid late 80s and even before that, you probably didn't think as much about, because there weren't as many internet sleuths who are there critiquing every little thing. So it's just funny. It doesn't matter. It's just a fun little detail.
And now studios will purposely cut trailers a certain way because they know people are going to pause frame by frame. So it's crazy the way it's evolved. Yeah, a couple things that are different. They do use those reused shots, like you were saying, and watching it side by side, I just want to call out what those were. So when they cut away to Marty's parents in the doorway, when we see Crispin Glover and Leah Thompson as the mother and father of Marty McFly, that's from part 1. Crispin Glover ended up not returning to this movie, and I think it was due in part to like the fractured relationship between him and the creatives, like Bob Gale and Zemeckis, where he had a lot of things to say about how the part 1 should end. Also, apparently, it was something to do with the pay scale. I think he was asking for, like, if you ask the creatives, they're like, they're asking for way too much. And then he asked Crispin Glover, he's like, they offered me less than half of what Leah Thompson and Thomas F. Wilson were making. So it's like, I don't know. Take it how you want. He just wasn't in the movie. He did end up suing Universal Studios because they used his likeness to recreate George McFly, because they used a prosthetic mask. Did you know about this?
I didn't know about this. I know that he was in the paper, right?
So like the reused footage and like stock photos are fine, but like when they go into the future, he's hanging upside down. So that's a different actor in a prosthetic mask. And it's because they had to include George McFly somehow. But yeah, it kind of started this whole conversation of like, whoa, you can't just use someone's likeness with it. It's fine if you recast them and just grab someone who's kind of similar looking, but you can't take like a mold of his face and then put it on another actor. So that's where it kind of got a little messy.
We're having that with AI now, as far as can you just recreate an actor in a movie? And
absolutely. Yeah. Crispin Glover ended up winning $760,000 in the lawsuit from Universal. Yeah. So he kind of almost made the money he was asking for. I think he was asking for $1 million.
I was going to say, that's not a bad payday.
Yeah, nowadays actors are lending their likeness or giving, like, lending the rights or accepting it, or like if it's a deceased actor, then it's usually on the family to kind of give like a blessing. So like, yeah, you can use their face or you can use their voices. And you mentioned Star Wars earlier. Like James Earl Jones was like, my voice is so connected to Darth Vader, it'd be a crime if you guys didn't have the rights to that. So yeah, it's kind of started an interesting conversation. But anyway, sorry. Reuse shots. Cutaway to Marty's parents. Doc crashing the DeLorean into garbage cans. That's just from part 1. The close-up of him sifting through the trash for the fuel because the new DeLorean runs on garbage, thanks to Mr. Fusion. The close-up of the Mr. Fusion reactor being opened. And it actually looks like it's the hair of Claudia Wells in the background. So they don't show Jennifer's face, but it looks like it's from part 1 because Elizabeth Shue's hair is different than Claudia Wells. Claudia Wells is a little bit more wild and 80s, and then Elizabeth Shue is a little bit more kind of straight and poofy. And then the DeLorean reversing out of the driveway and flying towards the camera in the air is the same. We do actually get a new addition to the scene. It's where Biff comes out, and then we get a POV of Biff looking at the DeLorean take off as it preps for launch, and then it leaves flaming tread marks in the sky, which is unique to the sequel because obviously that wasn't in part 1. We just ended on that one shot, and they match everything perfectly. So even like the cinematography to the acting performances, it almost kind of gives you like a Mandela effect. You're like, wait, was this the ending of part 1? Like, was Claudia Wells ever in it? Because they do it so well, from matching sets to matching shots to camera movements to acting. It was impressive.
I just accepted it that this was the ending to number 1. Also, not like knocking anything or anything like that, but you can definitely tell. I know it's only been 4 years between the two movies. Michael J. Fox has definitely aged a good amount, and that's not like not me saying he looks old or anything, but he definitely looks different from number 1. That's one of the first things I noticed. Like, oh, he's a man now, if that makes sense.
Yeah, in part 1, I think he was like 24, 25. Making the jump from 24 to 29 or 30 is quite the jump. Obviously, as you get closer,
I know
to
that. You know that.
Yeah, and he made comments about how he's doing all these physicality movements, and he's like, yeah, I'm kind of like, my knee is actually acting up when I do this little slide over the hood or something like that.
It's actually a little sad because he had mentioned with the skateboarding.
It was like the early symptoms. Yeah, it was early symptoms of his
Parkinson's. Yeah. So that's the sad part. But even just the facial, the look, and I don't know if that has anything to do with any of the disease, where like the body's just looking a little different. But you're telling
that's just getting old, man.
You're like, he's not a high school. Like, he's not a 20-year-old anymore.
We'll just blame it on the time travel. We'll say the time travel gave him a bloated face or something.
Stressed out all of his cells. Yeah.
He looks great. So the new addition to this opening sequence is the Biff POV. And I appreciate how we hang on Biff as the DeLorean flies off, because we're like, okay, like now we know what's going to go wrong. It's a little bit of foreshadowing of why is something going to take a nasty turn. But Doc grabs Jennifer, grabs Marty. It says it's something to do with his kids. They got to go to the future, the crazy future of October 21st, 2015. Got about 3 minutes in a little bit of a catch me up in 1985, and now we're in 2015. We've talked about how funny their interpretation of 2015 was. Now we got to fix the problem. So it's a lot of just like manic energy from Doc. Nick, you said it before the recording. We kind of can't unsee a Rick and Morty style relationship, because Doc is still just as manic, if not more manic than part 1, where he is just grabbing Marty out of thin air, dragging him into the future, shoving clothes in his face, power laces, Nikes, jacket that adjusts to your size. He knocks out Jennifer with a sleep inducer, and they just drag her out of the car, leave her in an alleyway, says, I got to go intercept your son, and basically hit him with the same sleep inducer. And you need to go pose as your son and tell Griff, who, yes, is part of the lineage of Biff Tannen, that you are not in the bank robbery tonight. Meet him at Cafe Eddie's. Everything's going according to plan. Everything's going according to schedule. Let's do this. And we're just like, what the hell? What's going on, Doc?
Yeah, it's very manic. I just want to say the Jennifer getting knocked out. So obviously we talked about it. Like the actress that plays Jennifer, there's a lot going on, but something I've always appreciated about Back to the Future, I don't want this to sound bad in any way, but it's not a love story. Like there's not this major female interest that's an overarching B plot where Marty's trying to fall in love or there's this romance story. It's really time travel adventure. And they're like, hey, yeah, this is your future wife. You guys have kids together. Obviously, we know that you guys are together, but we're going to knock her out and we're going to do time shenanigans. And we're not bringing this whole extra romantic piece to it. And nothing wrong with romance in movies, but for time travel movies, I'm just trying to get into the wacky shenanigans. And Jennifer becomes part of the wacky shenanigans, but not in a romantic way. So I appreciate that, where they didn't force some sort of love story into time travel.
And the Bobs knew they had to include her because at the end of the first movie, she gets in the time machine with them. So they're like, okay, well, now we kind of have to incorporate her into the story, which is great because she kind of gets shelved in this movie as well, but she gets shelved in the first movie for sure, which is fine. It's mostly about Doc and Marty. And that was our whole takeaway, was that it was a movie about their relationship and their loyalty to each other, which we thought was beautiful. There's so much stuff happening, so much info dumping happening that you could miss a whole lot of Easter eggs. I do want to point out some Easter eggs, something I caught on the first watch and especially on the second watch. Something funny, the Welcome to Hill Valley sign, it still has those social club badges like the Kiwanis and Rotary and Lions Club, which is funny because they're totally dying off. And then Mayor Goldie Wilson Jr. or Goldie Wilson III they're still holding down the mayor's office. They got that shit on lock. Goldie Wilson and his lineage is here to stay. And it says ejection seats save lives, which is like what they have on those signs. It's like drive safe, seatbelt save lives. Welcome to Hill Valley. The newspaper that Doc hands Marty that shows him the photo of his son getting arrested. In the top left corner, it's so weird because it says Slam Ball Playoffs. And Slam Ball is something that was invented in 2000.
I loved Slam Ball.
I know, it's the basketball. If you know what Slam Ball is, it's basketball
trampoline
series
basketball
that ran. Yeah, they have trampolines, super dangerous. They ran from like 2000 to like 2015, 16 and kind of died off around then. But I thought that was interesting. I was like, wow, they kind of called that perfectly. They also called the Cubs winning the World Series. They didn't necessarily get the exact year right. I think they
2016.
won 2016. Yeah.
Yep. And they couldn't have beat Miami because they're both in the NL. But still, yeah, Cubs in 2015 finally winning the World Series. That's dangerously close.
The Cubs win the World Series in Back to Future Part 2 because, again, Bob Gale is from Chicago. He's a Cubs fan. Just kind of funny that they ended up winning the World Series 1 year later, IRL, which is great. There's a Roger Rabbit toy in the window of the antique shop. We know that Robert Zemeckis was working on Who Framed Roger Rabbit a year prior. There's little Elijah Wood in the 80s arcade. That's a classic Easter egg. Jaws 19, which has that really not good looking CGI hologram shark, is directed by Max Spielberg, who, yes, is Steven Spielberg's son. So they're letting us know nepotism is going strong in 2015. Fun fact, Max Spielberg was born 3 weeks before the original Back to the Future came out. How on topic. Griff lands in the no landing zone outside of the 80s cafe. I thought that was just right on character with him because on the ground it says no landing because there's flying cars here. We see the flying cars land in the back from the space highway. Doc actually ends up doing this later, so that kind of is also on character for him. He's just so spaced out, and they're on a mission. It's like if you're on a time travel mission, you're not going to pay a parking meter. You're just going to be like,
need rules. Yeah,
I'm better than you guys.
Yeah.
Doc in the scene says, "Put on this hat, Marty. Put on this hat. Put on this jacket. Put on these shoes. Oh, put your pockets inside out, Marty. All the kids are wearing the pants inside out." So Marty undoes his pants pockets to make it look like he's wearing his pants inside out, and then Marty Jr. is actually wearing his pants inside out. I was like, man, there's so much attention to detail. I love it. They're laying so much information so that you can't really get caught up in a question of why. It's really just like, here's our mission. Go into the cafe. Let's get this started.
Yeah, and in this cafe, this is where, was it Lou's Diner from number 1? We're at the same diner, and Marty's son is essentially getting treated the same as Marty's dad was, like by Biff in 1955. So we have this whole parallel where, and it kind of goes with what we were saying with the view of the future. where it's just a little different version of 1985, where the characters are still being treated like everybody's still the same. People are still like, it's this repeat of what's happened just in the future. And so we're getting Marty's son getting bullied by Griff in the same way that his dad was getting bullied by Biff. And it's like this cycle just continues to repeat, even in the future.
Where's Griff's parents or Biff's kid? Who's that Marty era? Because Griff is the grandson.
I don't know. That's a great question. I don't know. Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Because Biff is George's bully, and then Griff is Marty Jr.'s bully. But why is there no Tannen in the mix in the Marty McFly era of the 80s?
Plot hole.
Hey, we don't have time for that because we have to keep recreating the magic, keep running these parallels back. When Griff comes into the cafe, he, like we said, he has bionic implants. He's very imposing. Kind of has like movements when he moves his limbs and all that.
Terminator sounds.
And then we're going to get into a hoverboard chase, which is reminiscent of the skateboard chase. So we're just running some parallels back.
Something very familiar about all this.
And Nick, I got to mention some stuff here. I want to talk about back-to-backs real quick. And this is not Back to the Future Part 1 versus Part 2. I'm talking back-to-backs on the Just Play It podcast because we have 2 back-to-backs of our last episode we did. Harley Davidson and the Marlboro Man. Are you ready for this? I'm going to hit you with some back-to-backs.
I'm so ready.
Nick, this is back-to-back ball sack grab movies. So last episode, our main character got hoisted up by his ball sack by a very large, imposing character. This time around, it's the chick in Griff's crew. Her name is Spike, and the actress is actually Darlene Vogel, and she actually played Mr. Turner's love interest in season 2 of Boy Meets World, by the way. She lifts Marty Jr. up by the privates after she says, "What's wrong? You got no scrote?"
What's wrong, McFly?
You got no scrote?
And he gives us a little woo, and then gets.
I heard that one. Yeah, I was like, "Dude, we just have a scrote." Like,
that
was good. We got a scrote.
And our second back-to-back from Harley Davidson and the Marlboro Man. Last episode, I shouted out Tia Carrere, who played an evil henchman in Harley Davidson and the Marlboro Man, and revealed she also voiced Nani in the 2002 animated Lilo and Stitch. Again, Nick, we have an actor playing a henchman, one of Griff's goons. This time, it is Jason Scott Lee, who plays Whitey, which is funny because he's the only non-white member of his crew. He's the Asian guy. He actually voiced David from the 2002 animated Lilo and Stitch, which was the love interest to Nani. And I thought, what are the chances here?
Unless you've got power!
What are the odds? That's awesome.
Just like Tia Carrere, he has a live action recast in the 2025 Lilo and Stitch. He, as the Luau manager, he also plays older Mowgli in the 1994 live action Jungle Book. But I thought that was funny. That was like a weird. This is the rabbit holes I get in when I'm researching movies.
That's the kind of breakdown you can expect from the Just Play It pod.
High quality. But Nick, Marty Jr. is a doofus, so Marty has to step in for his spot, and we're gonna recreate that hoverboard chase. I love the chase. I thought it was super fun. So they don't do any kind of shot for shot remakes here. Yeah, you got something?
Oh, I just want to say that for 1989, the effects on hoverboards, top tier, very well done. The effects throughout the whole movie, the flying cars, the everything, but the hoverboard chase specifically, I thought was just.
Now, what did you like about it?
It's details, right? And you'd mentioned this earlier, like the attention to detail that the movie has, but it doesn't look gimmicky. It's going to sound really weird, but the distance to the ground that the hoverboard is constantly going at is kind of going up and down, how you'd expect a hoverboard in your mind to work. There's the constant shadows that are going, his movements on the hoverboard, his whole body's sort of moving with it. It doesn't look gimmicky. It doesn't look forced. It looks like somebody who's never ridden a hoverboard going to the future, who was a skateboarder who then learned to ride a hoverboard real time. And it sounds really weird, but it tracks. Like if you watch this movie, it really tracks. So There's nothing that looks weird or out of place with it. Even Michael J. Fox's like knee bends and everything as it's going is just, it's really smooth. It's super smooth.
You're referring to the practical parts of it, because I think there's a couple CGI stuff in there that looks very like it wasn't quite ready, but luckily they don't rely on that. They rely on a lot of practical effects and stunts. So
yes,
the way they actually did it was, I didn't know this, they had the actors on like wires with the hoverboard strapped to their feet, and there's this huge crane over the Universal backlot that is suspending these wires, and there's kind of like counterbalances, like to kind of like have 3 people on one as the camera's moving. So I never even thought about it. I thought, oh yeah, they would just green screen it, but no, if they green screened it, would look awful for that
terrible
time. So
in 1989. Yeah,
it totally makes sense to have wires, and then it's kind of just like, duh, just have them suspend from the air, and it looks like they're surfing on air. It was great. Yeah, I have not a lot of problems with the effects in this. I think just the CGI is just a little bit noticeable on certain sequences, but they don't really rely on it too much, which is where I think it shines. But in this sequence, like in the intro, they don't do a lot of like shot for shot remakes of the skateboard chase, because you have this new technology. You have a hoverboard, so you can do new and exciting things with it, which I think is great. But they still have the same essence and the same beats as the skateboard chase, because it's still Biff / Griff's gang chasing down Marty, takes a portion of some kid's scooter and turns it into a skateboard, and then skitching on cars. They end up crashing through the courthouse mall instead of a manure truck that they did back in the first one. Spike's stunt double, the chick, almost died on this movie, because when they get sent through the window of the mall, the original stunt double didn't want to do it because she wasn't convinced that it was safe. So then someone else stepped in. So she's like, I'll do it. And then so she ends up hitting the pillar, which causes her to not go through the window. And then they release the wires, and then she falls down and just slams on concrete. And it's actually, it's the shot they use for the movie. So you can see her hit the column, and on the inside, you'll see the 3 dudes hit the ground on the inside. And then you'll see her like smack down on the ground in the background. It's nuts. And so she almost died doing it.
Holy smokes.
Luckily she didn't die, but it was,
I don't think they would be allowed to use the footage if she did, but
I like that the hoverboard chase is not like here, we're going to do it again. It's like we're doing it again, but it's a little bit different, where it's new and fun and exciting. And we get to just kind of recreate the same magic. And it's almost like foreshadowing that we're going to go back to 1955 and kind of run it back, and then have to sneak around and do all that fun stuff as well. The only thing that confused me was that Marty comes from the underground stairs after he jumps in the pond. Because did you notice that? The courthouse square, like the courthouse has now become a mall, and there's like an underground mall. And there's the pond in front of the courthouse. So he jumps down into the pond, but then he comes up from the stairs like he came from underground. I was like, is there like can you go swimming
tunnel?
In that pond? I saw people fishing in there.
Yeah. That was weird when he popped out, because I was expecting him to, again, I've watched this movie a ton, and it's been a while, but I thought he would kind of pop up in the pond a little bit and then get out. But yeah, he just pops out from a stairwell.
Yeah, no, he runs out from the stair. It's weird. It's confusing. So there's a lot of like confusing things that you're like, wait, why that happen? And then like before you can even think about it, the next thing's happening. Like I think if there's anything that's too convenient in this movie, it's going to happen in this 2015 sequence. Because I had a lot of questions. There's a lot of things happening. But I think this movie did such a good job of what I'm going to call spinning plates to have a sleight of hand. Because there's so many things that like are happening. You're just like trying to keep track of it. And then before you can even process it, they kind of just like sneak it in where it's like you accept it. Because when I first watched it, I thought when Doc leaves Marty to go pose as his son, he's like, oh, I'm going to go do something. And I was like, wait, what is Doc doing? Like, where's he going? So I rewound it. And then Marty's like, well, where are you going? And then he says, I'm going to go intercept Marty Jr. And then Marty Jr. shows up to the cafe. And like, well, no, you didn't. Like, you didn't do that. And then so later on, I thought it was like a plot hole, but it it's revealed that he used the sleep inducer on Marty Jr., but there wasn't enough charge on it because he already used it on Jennifer. And he says that.
What in the name of Sir Isaac H. Newton happened here?
Oh, yeah, Doc, listen, my kid showed up. All hell broke loose.
Your kid? Great Scott, the sleep inducer. I was afraid of this. Because I used it on Jennifer, there wasn't enough power left to knock your son out for a full hour.
So he must have used it, saw Marty pass out, and be like, all right, cool, I'm going to leave. But then you're thinking, wait, why didn't he ensure that Marty Jr. was still knocked out? Where did he go?
Yeah, what was Doc up to?
He shows up with Einstein the dog. So then you're like, oh, okay, he was grabbing the dog.
Well, he also knocked out Einstein. And you're like, well, you used some charge on Einstein too.
No, he didn't knock out Einstein. Again, this is like, you have to rewatch this so many times to get everything that Doc is saying. So he says, oh, because like, I didn't even realize that Einstein was never there from the start of this movie. I thought he was just always in the car.
Yeah.
But he shows back up and Einstein's in the car. And then he says, oh, I just picked him up from a suspended animation kennel.
I left him in a suspended animation kennel. Einstein never knew I was gone. In
part one, he leaves for the future with Einstein. But then in part two, he shows up. And the end of part one, he shows up with no dog. And you're like, oh, where's Einstein? So he left Einstein in 2015 in a suspension animation kennel, which is like kind of like a cryo freeze, basically just putting someone on ice so that it feels like no time has passed. So you're like, okay, all right, I guess that makes sense. So like when you're watching it, it's almost too messy that it comes out clean, if that makes sense. Like there's so much like plot holes, and they're like, wait, but if I go back and pick up on all these layers that they were throwing my way, it actually kind of lines up.
It's kind of smart because the future's not supposed to make sense to you. So it's like, oh, there's all these things you don't understand in the future. Accept it, move on. We're throwing more stuff at you. And the second, like you said, you found a plot hole. It's like, well, but look over here. Like, oh, what's that? What's that shiny object over there?
Yeah, like I was saying, like spinning plates so that they can pull a sleight of hand.
Yep.
And be like, oh, you were looking at this, so you didn't even catch the reasoning here. But there's still a lot of questions with this sequence. Like, why do we have to pull Jennifer out of the car? Why couldn't she just be in the DeLorean? Because then she ends up getting taken by the cops and they think she's the 2015 version of Jennifer.
They just throw her in the house without alerting anybody. They're like, oh, who's this passed out chick? Like, that's Jennifer. Like, toss her in her house. Did they enter her home?
Biometrics are how you enter your house, and they scanned her fingerprint or something, and it came up as Jennifer, and they're like, oh, wow, she looks like she's gotten some real de-aging done, or whatever they say.
Yeah, looks great for 46 or something. Yeah.
Just the why part is, why did we have to take her out of the car in the first place? That seems like a dumb move. Is it because
why are the authorities not concerned?
Einstein?
Why are the authorities not concerned? There's this passed out chick in the alleyway. Like, whoa, why is she here?
Actually, they don't ask any questions. They're like, let's just drop her off and she'll be fine.
Like, nobody's concerned about this. Like, just drop her off on her couch. She's fine.
Like I said, it's so messy that it's clean, because we have all these things of like, what's like Jennifer's in the alleyway, Einstein's showing up. Like, where was Doc? What are we doing? So in the midst of all this, in this very tight first act, we do establish the sports almanac, how it's a thing. We establish the morals of abusing future knowledge. And we also establish that Biff learns about the DeLorean time machine. And then so on the one hand, you can say, of course, how convenient is it that Biff is going to steal the almanac and the DeLorean all in one swift afternoon? But again, it's the spinning plates, sleight of hand magic, and the pacing and the writing that are able to pull it off and make it feel believable to us. It's so much just like, here's the almanac, here's this. And I like when we first see the almanac in the antique window. It's kind of central. It's where the Roger Rabbit and like a Jaws VHS and Marty's jacket, his denim jacket, is actually part of that antique window front thing. But we focus on the sports almanac, and it's not Marty going into the store and buying it after we see it. It's kind of like lingering on it so the audience can have the same idea that Marty has of like, oh, look, a sports almanac from all sports outcomes from 1950 to 2000. Wait a minute. And the audience can kind of think the same thing, because that's a smart idea.
And as far as Biff's concerned, you know, we already know that he's the villain. They set that up in the first minute to 2 minutes of the movie, where we have that new scene after the DeLorean takes off where Biff sees it happening and kind of is lingering in the background a little bit. And so we know Biff is kind of our opposition in this movie. So the fact that he's here and he's going to see what's happening and he's going to be the bad guy. Like, that's not a confusion or a twist to the audience. We've already accepted that in the first 2 minutes, and we're just waiting to see how it plays out.
Lingering on Biff in the beginning, lingering on the sports almanac, kind of giving the audience the same idea Marty has. And of course, how perfect is it that Marty has a very big brain idea, and then Biff steals his idea and steals the sports almanac. And, should have placed some bets on the Cubbies.
What did you just say?
I said I wish I could go back to the beginning of the season. Put some money on the Cubbies.
As that guy with the very old special effects makeup said, I learned that this is actually Terry, who in the 1955 flashback is the guy that Biff doesn't pay for the damage for his car. You know, the tow truck driver?
Yeah.
That he comes up and he's like, I'm not going to pay like $300 to get a couple of dents after he crashed the car into a manure truck. This is actually that same guy that comes up to Marty in the future. And it's hard to tell, but there was a deleted scene that he comes up to old man Biff in 2015 and says, you never paid me for the manure job.
1955. I always remember that date. You know why? Because this old buzzard tried to shaft me out of $300 for fixing his car. Oh, shut up, Terry. The car was filled with manure, Biff. Manure. I am a mechanic. I'm not some kind of stable boy. You're living in the past, Terry.
So that's where we get the reasoning of why Biff chooses that date to go back in time to give the sports almanac to younger Biff, which I thought was, I don't know why they cut that out. It kind of would have, because it is a little bit too convenient that it takes place at the same time as part one.
Well, that's sort of, I can see a world, they never explained it, but I can see a world where from number one, that's sort of where Biff's legend fell apart a little bit, right? Like wanting to get with Marty's mom and then getting punched and losing him to his dad, you know, like that's, I could see where he would pinpoint that day as this is where Biff's life really went from being a cool guy to being a joke. So I don't worry about that too much, James, but there is a nitpick you have for Biff that I think you need to point out here. I see you written it down.
Nitpicks.
Yeah. So despite all the convenience that he is going to take the sports almanac and he's going to time travel back to that date, my nitpick is that he knows how the time machine works. So there's the DeLorean. He knows how, because there's like a destination setting, there's a current time setting, there's a where were you just setting. I'm like, how does he know how the DeLorean works? He just hops in, just uses it, no problem.
Got to get it up to a certain speed. You have to, there's a lot of switches, and I mean, does he even know how to put more fuel in it? I don't know. Maybe Terry would have told him. Terry, by the way, is also the voice of Roger Rabbit. So again, we just got to hit up those friends of the show. The Zemeckis verse.
I love this future first act sequence. It's great. We go get Jennifer from the future house. Michael J. Fox plays his older self, his son, and his daughter, and they made this crazy camera to make all three of them be in one shot way before you could just splice them in with CGI. Apparently it was something crazy. They hand built this
way before the Nutty Professor, way before the Clumps came into town.
Pre-Clumps, it was hard to understand what they did with this. I think they said that it's a camera that can mimic the exact movement. So that shot with the dehydrated pizza, when they all grab a slice and it pans out and then it zooms in and it tilts this way. So it could basically just redo the same exact movements perfectly. And they just shot it 3 different times with Michael J. Fox being 3 different characters. And this required nothing in the scene to move. So they ended up hot gluing a lot of items down on the counter so that nothing would be interfered with. And they basically just like, all right, we're going to splice this section of Marlene, this section of Marty OG, and then this section of Marty Jr. And it's crazy. It's wild. This movie, attention to detail and ingenuity is crazy. I love it.
I love how sometimes the best solution is the easiest. Like, just hot glue it to the counter, man. We can't have it move. Just hot glue it all down.
That's movies. That's Hollywood, baby.
Lock it all in. I agree with you that I classify all movies as pre-Clumps and post-Clumps.
Before Clumps, after Clumps. So amongst all of this craziness and Doc's rambling, he does say, oh, Jennifer could possibly run into her future self. And there's two options. She can pass out just from pure shock, or it's going to be a paradox and the world's going to blow up. So it's funny because he's rambling. We're just like, Doc's rambling. He's just saying funny stuff. But then later, that's actually what ends up happening. Jennifer looks at her future self and passes out. So we're like, it was one of the two options. So Doc wasn't lying.
It was a funny scene. And that's something... There's a few moments in the future where Marty Jr. is watching TV and there's an advertisement for the blow up tit enhancer for women. Like that's a thing. So something I love about this movie and the, Back to the Future Part 1 and even number 3, as we'll see, is it never loses its sense of humor. It's always kind of silly. It's always playing on itself. It's lighthearted. It's not some serious, and that's where some of these nitpicks or the future, like who cares, man? We're having such a fun time. Zemeckis and Gale never stop having fun. As long as you're having fun, people don't ask a lot of questions.
Just like at the end of the first one, when Doc Brown says, "I figured, what the hell?" They kind of have that "what the hell" approach to time travel, where it kind of seems like there's science and it makes sense, but like obviously it's time travel. It just doesn't exist. There's no rules. So as long as you make it convincing and kind of just keep us entertained and just keep the party going, we're not really going to stop and be like, well, even though I'm going to do that anyway. I have some stuff to bring up later, but
I'm into it.
Hey, we got Jennifer. They don't know Biff went back to 1955 and gave the sports almanac to younger Biff. So they're going to go back to the same October 26, 1985. They're going to drop Jennifer off on her front porch, whatever. Just leave her out there in the middle of the night. I don't know why they didn't come back in the daytime. Like when they left, they go back later. But turns out this is 1985 altered. So this is the alternative 1985 where Biff is basically Trump. He's basically the richest man ever. He's walking around smoking cigars.
His name on buildings, his face everywhere. He's a brand.
The Pleasure Palace. Yeah, Biff's Pleasure Palace is out here. I think that's what it's called. He's chilling. The goons are still gooning. And as this altered 1985 version of the goons, which again is Billy Zane as Match and the other guy of Skinhead and 3D, the guy with the 3D glasses, they're all grown up from 1955 high school bully goons to Biff's kind of three amigos bodyguards. And Nick, tell me they don't look like the Channel 4 news team, because Match, Billy Zane has a cowboy hat. He looks like Champ. 3D has still like red and blue glasses, but with long hair. He kind of looks like Brian Fantana. And Skinhead is just going to go ahead and get defaulted to Brick.
I don't think anything is a coincidence. I don't quite know who wrote Anchorman. Was it
Adam McKay?
I think they
based the Channel 4 news team
off everybody's
Biff's goons.
Whether it's intentional or subliminally, everybody's who knows film, who loves film, has seen these movies, and at a certain point it does permeate through as far as what does a foursome look like? Like it looks like this. And whether you know that you're basing it off of something or not, it's like Mike Judge and the guys from The Burbs. We're like, that's what the Arlen boys look like.
Is this not King of the Hill?
Yeah. And whether you know it or not, like it sinks into you. And when you're writing a movie, you think it's original, but there's no original thoughts. And that's not a knock on Adam McKay, but it's like these things just stick in your brain.
It's an homage. Yeah. It's like, remember those three guys that me and my brother had an inside joke about? Like, we're going to make those be the inspiration for these characters.
Yeah.
But Red is back. Welcome back, Buck Flower. Remember, he was the bum, and apparently Red was also the mayor in 1955. And Goldie Wilson said, I should run for mayor. And then Red loses his job in that 1985 and becomes a bum. Would have figured he would have been thriving in this Wild Hogs version of Hill Valley, where bikers just run the square. I would have figured he would have took advantage of the situation, but no, he's still a bum.
You can't really anticipate what post-apocalyptic Hill Valley is going to look like.
And speaking of Zemeckis' least favorite thing to do in the whole trilogy, apparently, which was the 2015 version, it's funny, that was my favorite part of this movie as a kid, but my least favorite part of the movie, and I think still today, is this altered 1985 version, because it's just kind of, I mean, it's so ridiculous that it works. It's almost like Mad Max. Like there's just lawlessness. Like we said, Strickland is on the front porch. He doesn't know Marty because the school burned down 6 years before he went to high school. He has a shotgun. He has a bulletproof vest. He's scarred up.
He has a sash with the shotgun shells on it. Like he looks like he's from Fallout. Like he's been.
Yeah.
It's like the Last of Us, and he's like the last man on the block who's still alive. Like
he's holding down his OG home that he has a mortgage on still.
He's gonna blow Marty's nuts off with a shotgun.
Now you got exactly 3 seconds to get off my porch with your nuts intact. 1.
Oh, please, Mr. Strickland, I just want to know what the hell's going on here.
And you're like, dude, what is happening, Strickland?
Just like an aesthetic part of the film. I thought 2015 was so bright and fun, and there's pink hoverboards we're riding around on. It's all lighthearted. And then we come back to this like twisted version. Maybe it's just like just thinking about that. If I put myself in Marty's shoes, that's like a horrific nightmare because his mom married Biff Biff just forced her to. And then we learn later he killed George McFly. So he killed his father. So it's just like a nightmare scenario to wake up to. So I think just aesthetically is my least favorite part, but it has to happen for the movie.
I love how one man becoming a billionaire turned this town into a death town. Like that's so wild to me. Like
lawless.
Oh, I became a billionaire. Now this town is literally the Wild West in an otherwise civilized America. And you look at the newspaper, Richard Nixon's running for a 5th term instead of Ronald Reagan. And you're like, one man becoming a billionaire has
in this random California town
has destroyed the Constitution. Like the world is just ruined.
Biff Trump.
God bless America.
Well, speaking of the Wild West, we do get a little bit of a foreshadowing for part 3 because we get a voiceover TV presentation outside the Pleasure Palace about how the Tannins are the best family ever, and all traced back to Mad Dog Tannen.
Learn the amazing history of the Tannen family, starting with his great-grandfather, Buford Mad Dog Tannen,
which is part of the lineage of the Biff Tannen bullies. He'll be a character in part 3. But yeah, Biff owns everything. Doc is crazy. He's in an asylum. George is hella dead. And I think it just has to do with Crispin Glover not being in the movie. Uncle Joey gets a shout out. He's still in jail. So this crime town, just like Red, he didn't capitalize on making it big. He's just still in prison. We get inside information of when Biff went back to the past to give the sports almanac to his past self.
November 12th, 1955. That was when?
November 12th, 1955. That was the date I went back. That was the date of the famous Hill Valley lightning storm.
I'll never forget that Saturday. I just picked my car up from the shop because I'd rolled it in a drag race a few days earlier.
I thought you crashed into a manure truck.
And Biff's like a little bit suspicious about that. But he shows him he has a sports almanac in a safe. This is where he says, the old man said if an old crazy guy or a young kid ever come around asking about it, kill him. And then so now it's Marty's turn to die with the same revolver he shot his dad George with. And Marty is a freaking ninja dodging bullets out of this 27th floor high rise.
Yeah, it's either that or Biff is not good with a gun. Maybe he's just gotten a soft life. And
no, Marty's like legit. He is like doing somersault. He's jumping.
At first, he steals that matchbook, and then he hits Biff with the classic, "What's going on over there?" And then Biff looks, and he throws the like ashtray match holder at him, and Biff gets out of the way. But that thing sticks into the wall, and I'm like, that would have cut Biff's throat. Like Marty was ready to murder Biff if he actually connected with that thing. I want to see the world where Biff didn't have cat-like reflexes and just
like Indiana Jones in Last Crusade. He got real after the first couple. He's like, I'm not fucking around.
So it's a fight to the death between these two, apparently.
We get chased up to the roof. Marty pulls a magic carpet off the roof, like in Aladdin, where he jumps off, and we think like, oh my God, he just jumped off. But here comes Doc and the DeLorean baby. And Doc glides up, and Biff is all dumbfounded. Doc actually smacks Biff with the DeLorean gull-wing door. Down goes Biff. Marty gets in. He's like, "You're not going to believe it, Doc. We got to go back to 1955. And Doc goes, "I don't believe it." And then they eat off. I'm like, oh my God, this is so funny. This is so good. This is so good.
It's so good.
This movie.
You're not going to believe this. We got to go back to 1955.
I don't believe it.
I love Christopher Lloyd. Could I just
Point it out.
loved him in everything he's ever done. There's certain people, Christopher Walken, I feel the same way about. It's just a demeanor when they're in a movie where it just makes me happy with every line they say. Just fantastic. So great for Christopher Lloyd. Yeah, we got to go back to 1955. And this third act is so well done because we are reliving Back to the Future Part 1, but through this new Marty. So we have two Martys in this past. We have two Docs in this past. And we're constantly moving between each other. We're doing remakes. We have stuff. Just little detail stuff. And I don't want to spoil anything, but stuff happening outside of a window from a scene that happened in the last movie. I mean, just fantastic. So we have these layered timelines. And I'll let you go, James, but I was so enamored with this. It's the attention to detail from Zemeckis here that just this third act is what made this movie really, because I'm having fun in Act 1, I'm having fun in Act 2, and then Act 3 is where I'm like, Zemeckis, you are a damn genius, dude.
It's really good, and I want to just call out the time and the pacing of this movie. There's so many breadcrumbs they drop, and this is what movies
everywhere.
This movie is messy with crumbs, and it's so perfect. So they drop a breadcrumb that the time travel destination is on the fritz.
Damn, gotta fix that thing.
At this moment when they're in the altered 1985, and it's where Doc's like, I gotta fix this thing, and we're like, again, we're just like, okay, but we gotta go. So, but that also happened, and I also heard it. So at this hour mark, this is when we're going to go back to 1955, and I just want to break down where we were as far as screen time. So minute 0 to 2 minutes 55 seconds ish. So sub 3 minutes. That's the 1985 recreation of the ending of part 1. Minute 4 to minute 38. This is when we're in the future of 2015. So we got a good little 34 minutes in there. It's our first act. Minute 38 to an hour and 1 minute. That's when we go to the altered 1985. So we're there for about 23 minutes, which I thought was the perfect amount of time. We don't need to dwell on it any longer than that. We kind of hit our climax. We find out George is dead. We find out Biff has ruined America by becoming the luckiest person ever. And then from an hour 2 minutes until credits, the movie's hour 48, by the way, with credits. So I'm guessing we have about 40 minutes for this third act to play out. And Nick, you said it. It's fantastic. It needs those 40 minutes to really just hit all of the necessary beats and important parts of the third act of part 1. But now we have the job of adding in extra content that is necessary to this story.
It was almost like Zemeckis was showing off at certain points, like little scenes that were inconsequential, but he's like, hey, check out this Easter egg from number 1. It's happening in the background. Like, just so unnecessary, the audience didn't need, but he was just flexing. He was just whipping it out on the table. Like, check me out as a filmmaker, dog.
Yeah, just reusing the shots in different ways, because they have a shot of Crispin Glover kind of awkwardly dancing by the fruit punch bowl. And then in this movie, they just add a binoculars vignette over it. So it looks like it's Marty spying on his dad. It's like, this is great. I want to shout out again, just attention to detail. That UCLA game, it was a real game that happened on, you know about this.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was that dramatic, because they're like, in the radio voiceover, when old 2015 Biff is trying to convince 1955 Biff that the sports almanac is real, he says, I'll bet you $1 million that UCLA wins at 19-17. And 55 Biff says, what, are you stupid? They just said it was over. And then UCLA kicks a field goal. They win at 19-17. And
it is wild to be like there's no way they could hit a 40-yard field goal with 3 seconds left. You're like, I feel like that's...
Were they that shitty at field goals back then? Or
that was when like kickers would take 2 steps and kick it with their toe. And so it was not very it was.
I mean, even so, like I'm checking stuff like that. I'm like, was that a real game? Because that'd be sick.
Yeah.
Of course it was. Nick, you said there was 2 Martys and 2 Docs, but Nick, I think at one point there's 3 DeLoreans in 1955. I think there's 3 DeLoreans out there. So the part 1 DeLorean at this point is at Doc's place. It's in the shop because they ran out of plutonium, and then they need the lightning strike to get back home. The 2015 Biff DeLorean is out there with Biff somewhere. And the Doc and Marty Part 2 DeLorean is hidden behind the Lions Estate sign, which is where the first DeLorean was hidden behind in Part 1. And then they end up moving it to Doc's place to work on it. My question, I'm going to pop the corn here, another talking point. Could you endlessly duplicate the DeLorean by like going back in time to the same?
As long as the time stream doesn't get ruined where the DeLorean ends up getting destroyed at a certain point in the past, you can, like 1986 Marty could bring it back. In 1987 Marty can bring it back. In 1988 Marty can bring it back. Yeah, it's all.
Could you just have like a fleet of DeLoreans?
If you wanted to, I guess, yeah.
But we're going to go to the Enchantment Under the Sea dance. This is where the third act of Part 1 takes place. And Nick, you said it, they integrate the old footage with this new footage so well. We get a brand new POV. Watching a side-by-side of Part 1 to Part 2. Again, it's just more of like, oh, we didn't see these characters in these scenes, so we're going to fill them in here. So basically, altered 85 Marty in the leather jacket is out there spying on not only Biff, not only his dad, but his older Part 1 self as well. And they just fill the gaps so perfectly because you can watch clips on YouTube and like the pacing of when Strickland takes the sports almanac to his office, like in real time, like that's when Marty from the first movie is pulling up with Lorraine and then she's smoking a cigarette, takes out the booze. And then this is all happening while Strickland is in his office and Marty's sneaking in his office trying to get the sports almanac. So it all lines up. And then it lines up with that part where George McFly comes out and confronts Biff in the car. And that's happening in the background because we end up getting duped by the almanac double cross because the cover is over this ooh la la porno magazine.
Ooh la la, ooh la la,
Ooh la la, ooh la la, ooh la la.
So hour 21, that's when we're duped by the book cover. And then you go back in time by 1 hour, Nick, minute 22 of this movie, when we go into that antique store where Marty originally buys the almanac. The antique store employee randomly says, this book has a very interesting feature. It has a dust jacket on it before they invented dust-resistant paper.
Now this has an interesting feature. It has a dust jacket. Books used to have these to protect the covers. Of course, that was before they had dust-repellent paper.
So it's like the cover to a book. So they establish that there's a cover to the almanac. And then she says something funny. Again, just like, oh, look at this, look at this, look at this. Don't mind what I just said. She's like, if you're interested in dust, we have something called the Dust Buster. It's breadcrumbs, Nick. And you could suck up those breadcrumbs with that Dust Buster.
You could. Yeah, little things like that are constantly being... my favorite part, the tussle outside of the car where George finally comes and saves the day against Biff. That scene happens through a window, and it's almost in the background. I thought that in and of itself was so cool. Like that you're saying, hey, even when Marty's not watching, Back to the Future Part 1 is happening in the background constantly. Even when Marty's not paying attention, even when it's not important to the plot of number 2, this is all still happening in the background. All these scenes you remember are still going on. Like you said, the attention to detail, this is where I thought Zemeckis was just really flexing because there's no reason to show that because you already know what's happening. But he's like, no, in the background through this window, you're going to see that tussle at the car happening because I'm so good at what I do. You're going to see it.
My note echoes exactly what you said. It was I was talking about the book cover, and then I said breadcrumbs, 3 exclamation points. And then my very next bullet point was, meanwhile, Biff is in the background with George. It's so perfect. And you described it beautifully. You described it beautifully.
It's a flex.
It's a flex. Also, Harry Waters Jr., he is back playing Marvin Berry.
Marvin Berry!
They got the same guy to be the Marvin and the Starlighters. They're still on stage. And then they add a layer to the scene because in the Johnny B. Good sequence, the Biff goons are going to go, they're pursuing Marty, and Marty hides underneath, like Part 2 Marty hides underneath the table with like a tablecloth, and he actually does an Indiana Jones hat grab, which I was like, Spielberg. So then they're like, wait, how'd he get up on stage? And then so they're going to go sabotage Part 1 Marty, and then Part 2 Marty's like, wait, Doc, the goons are going to get me, my old self. and they're going to ruin the space-time continuum. And then they're like, my parents aren't going to get together and whatever. And then so they add this whole other thing to it where he has to drop sandbags onto them. And it's so great because we don't know where those characters are in part one. And this could all be happening in part one. And my question is, they kind of imply it where it could be a thing where it always happened or it's new to this timeline. And that's what I appreciate. It kind of opens up doors to theories. What do you think happened there? Do you think Marty was like always in the background, or do you think it's a new branch timeline because of the events from part one?
According to what I know about the space-time continuum, which is nothing, but apparently it's always happened. The past has always been the past. And so
that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Because
And that's what's cool. I think Zemeckis took this and was like, I can recreate whatever the hell I want and say it happened, because you can say that. That's the cool thing about time travel is, they could come out with a Back to the Future today and say, oh yeah, this was always happening in the background of number 2. And you can't say no to it if it's integrated as well as this was integrated, to say, you just never saw it. You never noticed. Like, we were watching Back to the Future Part 1, and there was the second Marty always running around, and you never knew it. That's what's so cool about it.
Yeah. And fans will say, like, they'll watch part 1, and there's like a guy that kind of looks like Doc Brown in a trench coat, and they're like, was that Doc Brown? And then it's kind of like the writers when like in Star Wars Return of the Jedi, when they're like, is that Rex the clone? And then they're just like, sure. So it's kind of like stuff where like the fans can theorize and add layers to it. But I do appreciate where it's like, it could be either way. And that's the fun part about these movies.
And I think the cool part is Zemeckis and Gale probably don't care. It's fun that people are coming up with theories about it. They're like, yeah.
All right, Nick, bring us home in this 1955 sequence.
Well, we're going to have a final chase, right? So we're going to go ahead and we got to chase Biff down because we got double crossed with the almanac. So we got to go get Biff. We're back on the hoverboard, but in 1955, we're skitching
again.
Again, can't say this enough. It looks really good for 1989. The hoverboard scenes look great.
We get a sick Marty, like full like body extension front flip over the hood of Biff's Ford in the tunnel. Like this dude's acrobatic as fuck.
The tunnel scene is really cool. I don't know how they filmed it. Like you said, it was pretty much all practical, but when you're doing the wires through a tunnel, I don't know how they pulled it off, but my goodness, it was impressive. We have Doc running support in his DeLorean. We're going to get a sick sky save, you know, what you'd usually see from a helicopter, dropping a rope down. And we're going to get the manure gag again because we have to, because things have to emulate what happened in number 1.
Just like he crashes into manure twice in 1 week, thanks to 2 different Martys.
It's almost like you could change the past, but you can never fully change the past. There has to be a message in there somewhere. I don't know quite what it is.
The more things change, the more they stay the same.
Boom. But we get that almanac back. Everything's good. Our heroes have prevailed, and we're thinking to ourselves, we got to go back to our normal timeline. And
can I just throw out a nitpick real quick?
Nitpicks.
I think I nitpicked this in the first one. Just the changing photos and newspapers and like the match cartridge, the little match pocket thing. I feel like they wouldn't change. They would just like get dusted. Like they would never exist because that timeline.
I don't
never
feel
happened,
so good,
know?
Mr. Stark.
I feel like that matchbook would be like, I don't feel so good, Marty. And then it would just go away. But instead it changes from like Biff's to like auto dealing or something. And then the newspapers, like, wouldn't those newspapers just cease to exist?
Call back to the matchbook. Remember at the beginning of the movie, he talked about his business card and matchbooks that he had his new logo on. Like, oh, this is my new auto detailing logo.
Marty, I wanted to show you these new matchbooks for my auto detailing I had printed up.
And so instead of being Biff's casino, it goes back to what it is in the 1985 that we started with, where he just created these new matchbooks to have his auto detailing logo.
This movie thought of it all. This movie. But still, like the newspaper of like the same exact newspaper is still in existence, and it's like the same photo, just like instead of Doc being in a straight jacket, he's like doing a handshake. I get it's for storytelling tools, and
it's like
it's
scientists committed to scientists commended. It's like I just wouldn't have a news story in that day.
The newspaper wouldn't exist. The timeline, maybe that person who made that newspaper never was born. Maybe that newspaper company was never erected. Who knows?
Maybe you didn't pick up the newspaper that day to have it in your hands. I don't know.
Just that's why this is a nitpick. But Nick, Doc gets struck by lightning, and it looks like it's a backwards 99, and we're all thinking, what's that? What's that symbolism? 88 miles an hour, 99 miles an hour? According to Bob Gale, it's because the DeLorean got spun out so fast. Those are the tire marks, and it just happened to make a kind of backwards 99 tread marks in the sky. So we're like, oh, okay.
If the creative says it didn't mean anything, then I say it didn't mean anything. Like, I'm cool with that.
Did he go to 1999? Did he go to 1899? But no, it's just that's nothing. But Nick, we get this Western Union guy, very like, meh, see, like
ominous,
see. He rolls up and he gives Marty a letter, which is reminiscent of part 1, when Marty wrote Doc a letter to wear a bulletproof vest. And that's when Doc is like, I can't know anything about the future. And then he does end up wearing a bulletproof vest. And that's when he says, I figured, what the hell? But Nick, did you recognize this Western Union guy?
Yes, but no. Like, I saw the face. I'm like, son of a bitch, I know this guy's face.
You are. I'm going to say a line from a movie he's been in. So he was in 1941, which is a Spielberg movie, which we shouted out before. So again, Spielberg is bringing back friends of the show. He was in Used Cars, which was one of those Robert Zemeckis flops before he got the Romancing the Stone, third time's the charm. But Nick, I'm just going to say a line that this guy famously says in another movie, and then you'll know him right away. Let me know you're ready.
I'm ready.
You suck, you jackass. He's the heckler from Happy Gilmore.
You suck, you jackass.
You better have a towel and some suntan lotion, because you're never getting off that beach, you jackass. Is he coming out in Happy Gilmore too? Is he coming back? Is he alive?
He unfortunately passed away April 2024.
Oh, rest in peace, man.
Joe Flattery, rest in peace. A hilarious character in Happy Gilmore. And I was looking at it, I was like, what the hell do I know you from? And then I saw that, I was like, that's awesome. Love that. Love that for us.
Is your name Marty McFly? I've got something for you, you jackass.
Marty gets the letter, and we know that Doc's alive. He's just in the 1800s. And he says, the Doc's alive. I mean, he's in the 1800s, but he's alive.
Never did. You all right? You need any help?
There's only one man who can help me. It's me, it's Marty.
Oh, it can't be. Just sent you back to the future.
Oh, I know you did send me back to the future, but I'm back. I'm back from the future.
And then we get a to be concluded. So it's a super cliffhanger, super middle movie way ending. That's Back to the Future Part 2, and we get credits.
Hold on. Before the credits hit. So this is interesting.
Was it the Part 3?
Yeah, and how sometimes it was in theaters and sometimes at certain points it wasn't.
I think this was actually in the theatrical version, because they show a preview of what part 3 is going to be, and it's showing Marty and Doc in the Old West. And this is where I got big Rick and Morty vibes, because it was just like, tune in next time. Doc and Marty are in the Old West, and they're doing Old West shenanigans. They're doing high noon shootouts, and they're mad dogging on Mad Dog Tannen, and come on down for part 3. It's Marty and Doc and cowboys and cowboy uniforms, and they're on horses. I was like, okay.
But it's wild that because they filmed these back to back, they had that footage. Like, imagine a world where you have, Avengers Infinity War, and then at the end of it, you get a preview for Endgame, and it's going to come out next year. That's a wild concept.
I mean, that's essentially what happened. Because they did film Infinity War and Endgame back to back. And it did come out 2018, 2019. But the only difference is they didn't show any previews. They kept it very close to the chest.
Yeah.
Instead, we got
imagine a world
post-credit scene of Hank Pym and Scott Lang.
where you got previews to the next movie. Because at a certain point, I mean, if you're a Back to the Future fan, you're like, oh, I've been in 1985, I've been in 1955, I've been in 2015, and then you get the previews and you're like, it's a Western. You're like, what the fuck?
I know.
We're doing a Western next year?
That's where I thought it just got so wacky. Just like, here's the next shenanigan. Come on down. It's going to be all. It's
so crazy.
I thought it was interesting to include it. I feel like I didn't need it because I know it exists, but maybe back then they're like, let's give the audience something to look forward to because it is such a cliffhanger.
And people won't believe that we're coming out next summer with this.
Coming summer 1990. So good. Well, Nick, we hit credits, and when there's credits, there's funny names. The funniest names I found in the credits are Jolanda R. Whipflea, Dusty Huber, and shouted him out last time, so I have to do it this time. Buck Flower, baby. He's back.
Buck Flower. Love the man.
Shout out to the recordist, because apparently our friend Albert Romero was the recordist.
Bert.
All right, Nick, I think we have talked about everything we wanted to bring up, so we do not have to post-pop the corn here, and we can go straight into some other kind of pops. It's going to be our mini pops, Nick. This is our awards, the mini segment where we hand out some accolades and some bad awards, some Razzies, if you will, for Back to the Future Part 2. Nick, we're going to start out with the category we always do, and that's going to be the best weapon. Whiteboard reveal style on 3. I need to see what you thought was the best weapon of Back to the Future Part 2 on 3. 1, 2, 3. Show the crowd. Nick, I see you are showing time as the best weapon.
And James, I see you are saying sleep inducer as the best weapon.
Absolutely. Are you kidding me? That could be totally utilized for weaponizing. That was so underrated. It was just introduced, could knock a full human out for if it's fully charged for a full hour. That gives you the option to murder them however you want, how easily you want.
That's a good call. I said time because it was the only thing that ended someone's existence, but it was kind of just their future existence. So I don't know how you utilize that as a weapon unless you
I'm
have
thinking
the DeLoreans.
practically.
Yeah,
I'm thinking practically.
Time is impractical. It's hard to control.
On topic of yours, I was going to say the sports almanac is almost a weapon because Biff weaponizes that and makes him the richest man in America, alters the political system. And it's a very deadly thing for this movie. But I think practically as a weapon, Biff, call him Biff Whiff. Shout out Biff Whiff. There's actually an actor named Biff Whiff. Biff was whiffing shots with that gun. That could have easily been the best weapon, but he didn't land any shots. That sleep inducer, very deadly in the wrong hands. That's why I'm nominating sleep inducer.
I'm going with sleep inducer. Yeah, I agree with you. It's a top tier weapon. All right, James, we have a best weapon, but there's more danger to talk about because we got to talk about our best fighter in this movie. So on the count of 3, I need you to show me your best fighter. Ready? 1, 2, 3. James, I see you wrote Marty McFly.
100%. And Nick, I see you wrote Griff. Mr. Griff?
Absolutely.
Mr. Bionic Griff? Sell me on Griff.
Griff was throwing grown men over the counter of the diner. He was really hard to beat. He's bionic, apparently even hits in the face. Just you were hitting metal. You can't even kick him in the nuts. Apparently that's titanium. He's quite the formidable foe. So I went with Griff.
That's a fair nominee. I was thinking Griff too, but I chose Marty because he does actually end up besting Griff. So when your best fighter gets bested by somebody else, kind of has an argument for that gentleman. That gentleman's going to be Marty McFly. And you said you can't kick him in the nuts because it's titanium, but when he does kick him in the nuts, it does make that doink sound, but it does put him down. And it kind of catches him off guard.
React.
And gets Griff temporarily disabled. And then Marty in this movie, like I said, kind of like an upgrade when Indiana Jones in The Last Crusade just kind of got he's like, I'm working out. I'm sick of this shit. I'm knocking fools out. I think Marty got way more parkour-ish and ninja-like because he pulls all these crazy evasive moves. So as far as like the offensive side, I think his defensive side is like on point in this movie.
He does get knocked out by a swinging door at the end.
He does, but that was from himself.
That's a fair point. That's fair.
So Marty, it was Marty on Marty crime. He knocks out 1955 Biff in that CPR scene and drops sandbags on the 1955 goons of Match, 3D, and Skinhead. And then he does a sick flip over the hood of Biff's Ford. So I thought Marty was just undeniable in his prowess and in his skills.
He was dangerous. I think for the context that we're looking for, it is Marty. I'm thinking if you threw somebody in a lockdown cage and you said Marty versus Griff time, I think Griff wins.
Griff could do it, but not by evidence in this movie.
Let's go with Marty.
Best weapon, check. Best fighter, check. Now we got to hit up that most valuable character. And I want to see your answer on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3, show the crowd. Nick, I see you went with Doc Brown for MVC.
I sure did. James, I see you crossed out best fighter. You just said Marty McFly for the MVC of this movie as well.
This is Marty's movie. Doc Brown was our MVC, I believe, for part 1 because he was so integral to why things were happening. But I do think Marty really steps up in this movie and has a lot of influence on it. His aura is absolutely insane. So I'm just trying to give Marty his flowers. It could absolutely be a Doc versus Marty movie. They're so good. Both of them are so integral to the story. But I just thought Marty was way more in control of his own fate in this one. Whereas in part 1, he was really just like, geez, Doc, okay. And this one, he's just kicking ass and taking names. And sometimes your main character has to be your most valuable character. And I think that was true for Back to the Future Part 2.
I mean, that happens a lot for sure. Our main character is the MVC, as you know, most often they should be. I went with Doc because I still think he is very integral to the story. He's still the director of everything. He's giving Marty the lay of the land. All of the plans really come from Doc. He's telling him what he can do, what he can't do. He really is our guide to each time period about what's allowed, what's going on. When Marty goes to the future and his dad is dead, he goes, this can't be real. And Doc says, it is. Let me explain this all to you. So Doc is always there. He's not as front and center as he is in part 1, but he's a little more tertiary in part 2, but he's always guiding us, telling us what's happening. I know we picked him for MVC of part 1, so I'm totally happy going with Marty for part 2 because he does become a much more focal figure here. But I still think
this is all up to you. This is all up to you. Because, I mean, Doc can go back to back and be our first 2-time MVC, or we can throw Marty his flowers.
I can go either way. I just think Doc is so important to these stories because he is our guide through time travel. And really a lot of the problems that happened was because Marty wasn't listening. And Doc's like, Marty, what are you doing? You grabbed the almanac. Why are you gambling? Don't be gambling. And so a lot of the problems Marty's creating, and Doc's trying to keep the peace, but that doesn't make for a good story now, does it?
I'll just throw this out because you said that. I don't think being the most valuable character means doing everything right all the time. Because when Marty does grab the almanac for a financial gain, it's almost like a fix to the Crispin Glover beef with part 1. Crispin Glover had issues with the ending of part 1. He said having money shouldn't make you happy. Hey, we learned our lesson from part 1 because Doc says you shouldn't use time travel for a financial gain. You should use it to gain knowledge of humanity. So it was almost like a fix to what part 1 was all about. It was like, we fixed the timeline because we're all rich and happy now. Whereas in part 2, Marty has a flaw where he grabs the sports almanac and says anything that anybody else would say, a very relatable thing. Like, if I know who's going to win the game, I'm going to put money on it and get rich. And Doc kind of puts the kibosh on it. So Marty, in a sense, does cause this whole adventure. So it comes down to that thing of, are you the best character because you have the best character, or are you the best character because you're a good character for the movie? So I'm leaving it up to you, my friend.
We'll go Marty. Marty works for me.
Marty McFly.
Marty.
Best fighter, MVC. Let's go, baby. Nick, Marty McFly is our MVC, but I do want to shout out Marlene McFly. This is the daughter of Marty McFly, because I almost nominated her because lest we forget, amongst the major info dump we got in the 2015 sequence, Doc Brown, in a very quick manner, says that she also goes to jail because a week later, after Marty Jr. got locked up, she went to go bust him out of prison. That's a fucking...
She's a real one.
That's a real one. That's a real sister. She was... Yeah. I was like, that's insane. That's just,
even though your brother's an idiot.
A state penitentiary.
Yep.
To break him out. I was like, damn, Marlene, all right. A1 day one. A1 day one. Well, when there's good people like that, we have bad people, Nick.
James, you know we got to nominate our biggest piece of shit. It's our favorite, my favorite nomination that we have at the end of every single movie. It's so good. So, James, on the count of 3, I need to see your biggest piece of shit for Back to the Future Part 2.
I'll give it
1, 2, 3. James, you says 1985 Alt Biff. Interesting choice.
And Nick, I see you are saying Old Marty from 2015. That's an interesting choice, speaking of.
It is an interesting choice. This is a man who has basically sunk his entire family and his financial future because he can't stand being called chicken. He got called chicken. We found out that caused him to get into a street race with a Rolls Royce. He crashed, broke his hand, couldn't play music, and it cost him his job in the movie that we saw. And he has really let his family down. He's a deadbeat dad, all because he can't have his ego challenged. And he has ruined his family. He hasn't raised his son. His son's an idiot. He doesn't even have a purpose or anything. That's a big piece of shit vibe. James, explain to me 1985 Alt Biff.
Absolutely. Just to throw something out there, he didn't race a Rolls Royce. He raced against somebody who called him chicken and ended up crashing into a Rolls Royce, which we will see play out in Part 3, actually. That's an interesting pick. I never thought about that. Yes, 2015 OG Marty is very unimpressive. I went with Alt Biff because the guy's a straight up menace. He murdered George McFly. He murdered somebody. It confirmed it. He murdered somebody. He changed the town of Hill Valley into a wild hogs, just hog heaven, more like a hog hell out here.
Hog heaven.
Forced Lorraine to marry him, forced her to get plastic surgery boobies, is hanging out with other chicks in hot tubs while he's married. So he's not faithful. He murders people. He's a certified creep. And I just thought he was an easy pick for the biggest piece of shit. It was funny because Biff was our biggest piece of shit in Part 1, but this is Alt Biff. This is Biff that is unchecked and spoiled even more than OG Biff.
I almost went with Old Biff, who stole a DeLorean, went back in time.
It could have been Biff, could have been Griff, could have been Alt Biff.
In the future, he thought this was Marty's kid, and he starts hitting him in the head with a cane over at the counter.
Hello? Anybody home? McFly?
Yes. He's a big piece of shit too. So a lot of pieces of shit actually in this movie.
Yeah,
a lot of
this one's tough. This one's tough. Limpy Dick Marty or strong dick certified dick Biff.
Biff is Biff, man. I mean, he is certified piece of shit guy. In every reality, in every timeline, it never changes. He's never learned his lesson.
I think if Biff didn't exist, which is impossible in the Back to the Future universe.
If Biff didn't exist.
I think 2015 Marty is a no-brainer. I just think Biff Alt 85 is just way too dangerous.
Then it's 1985 Biff.
I think it's Alt Biff. I think he just outshines shitty Marty so much, unfortunately. A great lineup of awards, friendly faces, frenemy faces on the board right now. It's time to wrap up this puppy, transition into the final segment of our podcast with the final review. And we're going to do that via our sarcastic selling points. Nick, I'm going to go first. My sarcastic selling point for Back to the Future Part 2 is we're going back to the Future. Is that what yours is?
I need you to read the comment that I've posted in the doc that I've not changed. That's been there.
Nick, you said Back to the Future. Wait, Back to the Future?
Back to the Future is what I said.
Back to the Future. Okay, so what I wrote down, certified, you can see here. I don't care if you read my log line because it's not really complete. But on paper,
Yeah.
Nick, SS right there.
Back to the Future. And I said Back to the Future. So, buddy,
That's the closest we've ever been.
that's it. We're on the same page.
Same wavelength. Let's go.
Final review. Fight.
All right, Nick, it is time for the final review. We're going to look at what the other guys thought of Back to the Future Part 2, and then we will get into what we think. We're going to start out with Rotten Tomatoes. The critics, 63% of the critics like this movie. Is that a splat?
No, I think 60 is the cutoff, but that 63%, regardless if it's a splat or not, is a fucking tragedy. That makes me sick. Well, at least the people didn't have it at that. The people had it at an 85%.
Metacritic is going to disappoint us even more because the critics are going to score this with a 57. A 57? Are we kidding right now?
Have to be.
I'm about to crash out.
That is ridiculous.
Fuck you.
Well, the people at least carried it a little more. The people came in on Metacritic at an 8.0.
And Nick, I gotta shout something out here. I noticed when you check these scores, when I originally checked back in January, the fan scores actually went down. So Rotten Tomatoes, the fans, they went down 1%, and then the Metacritic audience went down 0.3. What's going on?
That's insane to think that enough people logged on to Metacritic to score this low enough to lower it by 3%.
And how dare they? This is a 5-year. We're in 2025. This started in 1985. We went to 2015. We went to 55. We're going to go to 1855 or 95, whatever the hell. It's a 5-year. How dare you guys do this to us? I'm pissed, man.
Tragic
indeed, Nick. And now for our Griff Griffin.
Biff Beefin. Timeline freaking. Don't call me chicken score. Brought to you by Pepsi Perfect. From IMDb, a 7.8.
Oh my gosh, Nick. At least IMDb was a little bit more.
They're consistent.
Not shitty.
Consistent.
Terrible. Well, Nick, you said it at the top of this. You are going first for the review for Back to the Future Part 2. You gave it a 9 something. Let's see where it lands. I would love for you to hit me with a laughable logline, your score, and just final thoughts.
So my laughable logline is, we are going to the future, then back, then to the past, then the future, which is now, all because Marty wants to gamble. So, James, I gave the original a 9.1. This is in the 9s. Is it the same? Is it a tick under? Is it a tick above? I don't know. But I am going to know because I'm going to give it the exact same score I gave Back to the Future Part 1, which is a 9.1. I think it delivers everything that Back to the Future Part 1 delivered. There was the only downside to this movie, if you want to call it downside, is it was almost too much was happening. But you mentioned it during, the plot talk when we were talking about it, was the spinning plates. It was so much happening that it was good and it was chaotic and it was fun. I cannot emphasize that word enough. That was part of my 3 words in our pre-pops, which was fun. This is fun, man. I love a movie that's just, you're having such a good time with it. The characters are great. There's enough comedy. There's plot. There's Easter eggs. You have to be paying attention. We talk about our little system, which is checking the phone when you get bored with a movie. If you check your phone for 5 seconds, you're missing something in this movie. They're throwing stuff at you nonstop, and it's all useful information. The overlaying timelines, the Marty going back, it was just genius. It's just Zemeckis at his best. It is Zebestis, man. It was, and then you're just creating this like reaffirming continuity. Like you're not continuing from lore to another story. You're overlaying lore onto an existing story, which is a whole different level of movie making. And it's done beautifully. It's what I want in a movie. It's what I want in a sequel. You said at the top that this is the greatest sequel of all time. And I don't think I can disagree with you. You have an absolute classic, one of the most influential movies in film history, and you follow it up with something that is just as good. Chef's kiss, 9.1 from your boy. I can't ask for much more from this movie.
Beautifully said, Nick. I will give you my laughable logline, my popcorn points, and my final thoughts on this movie. And Nick, I didn't really have my log line written out, so I'm just going to do it live. I'm going to do it manic and do Doc Brown proud, because my laughable log line is Marty and Doc and Marty. They're going in the future, and that creates a problem in the past, and then that problem in the past makes a problem for now, and then they got to go back to the past, and then that's going to make a problem for the super past, and then they got to go back to the future. And Nick, I gave my pre-pop score an 8.9 because I matched my score for Back to the Future Part 1, and Nick, you also did the same thing. You're giving it a 9.1, which is the same you gave Part 1. Nick, this is a 9.0. I'm sorry. That Back to the Future 2 has always been my favorite of the entire trilogy. I'm not going to say a whole lot about it because I said it all in the plot talk. I said how much genius it was laying out the end game and things that pay off later in the movie and that are going to pay off later in the trilogy. I do think this is lacking a little bit more story than Part 1, but I think it makes up for it with how much ingenuity there is in integrating Part 1, and not just like a gimmick like, oh, look, we're running around and we're avoiding each other and it's all funny and whatever. No, there's a very well constructed storyline that has to take place in the background of Part 1, and we don't just reuse everything in Part 1. We get this whole new POV of that third act. Like you were saying, it's so immersive in the Back to the Future universe of us adding an additional layer, and then the fans get to wonder, was this all happening in the background? Maybe yes, maybe no. No one can disprove it because they just integrate it so well. And I think that in and of itself just raises the bar just a tiny bit. I think this movie could be on par with Part 1, even playing field, but I'm just going to let my biases fly because I think Part 2 just raises the bar, adds more depth to the story. And Marty's character of being called chicken, that even has breadcrumbs in it as well, because we see that in the 80s cafe, and then we get a story from Lorraine about how he was called chicken and he crashed into a Rolls Royce. That's going to pay off later in Part 3, and that's going to be Marty's character arc of not being so short fused and not challenging someone to a fight. And there's fan theories of why Doc came in at the day after they got done with their first Part 1 shenanigan and just threw him in. It's like, why didn't you just wait a little bit? Well, if you just wait in real time, you'll see in Part 3, Marty could have gotten in that car crash the next day, and then his life would already be changed. So then Doc had to come back at a certain point in time, manically give him these instructions. And when Marty asked Doc, like, oh, what happens to us in the future? To become like assholes or something? And Doc kind of takes a second. And I thought it was like a funny bit. Like Doc was thinking, yeah, you are kind of an asshole. But Doc knew what Marty was going to get into. He knew he was going to get in a car crash, and he knows not to mess with knowledge of time. And he couldn't provide an explanation at that point in time. So this movie being a very like middle movie, bridge movie, it does not suffer from second movie syndrome where the sequel is just fucking balls and the OG is a standout. This is right on level with the OG. Spielberg even made a comparison to Empire Strikes Back. As we've discussed, it's a lot of people's favorite Star Wars movie. It's a very dark movie for the OG trilogy because it's like the bad guys win. Very similar vibes here. Doc Brown gets zapped out of the sky. Marty's stuck in 1955. So we end on a dark note, but also a hopeful note. And I think that's much more exciting for the viewer than the end of Part 1. The end of Part 1 is fun. It's like, well, what wacky adventures are we going to go on to? It's like Part 2, when it ends, we're like, we are going Back to the Future again, Part 3. And I'm so here for it. So Part 1 could be a 9.1, could be a 9, could be an 8.9. Part 2 could be an 8.9, could be a 9, could be a 9.1. How dare these guys give it a 57? I'm fucking pissed at that shit, dude.
I couldn't believe that when I saw that.
I'm shocked. I'm shocked at that. But no,
Absolute
man,
tragedy.
This is from the entertainment value to the pacing and to how much different things they are balancing and giving the viewer where it's enough craziness for us to buy in on top of like creative filmmaking, like shooting the practical hoverboards to those split camera technology. They're clumping it. This is BK before clumps, like we said. I think there's just a lot of ingenuity in the screenwriting and the movie making itself that it carries it into a different level than most movies. And it's a 9. It's a 9 for me.
I think it just goes to show that when you build such a structurally sound story in number one, your possibilities are limitless when you want to expand on it. So if you're making a movie, Star Wars Episode 7, maybe, I don't know. If we're talking about Spielberg and everything, I don't know. Like, build a structurally sound story where you can change it, you can modify it, you can even go back and change the past and the lore because it's so well done. You could come in with creativity and build on it. So, I mean, just
adding layers that can kind of be questionable, but they ultimately they match up. We all know it. Yeah. They all match up.
So, like we said, it doesn't have to be perfect if it's fun. And you know what?
Yes.
That's what it is. So Back to the Future Part 2 on the JPI score, the average of our two scores is 0.05 better than Back to the Future Part 1. And I am so okay with that.
And like I said, it could really, they're neck and neck, basically. I was a little stingy with Part 1 just because I wanted to restrain myself, but I just couldn't with that pink hoverboard and that the Nike. Okay, I'm sorry. Those Nikes on the pink hoverboard itself just raises it 0.5. That's so iconic.
Fuego.
I'm sorry. Sorry. Sorry, not sorry. Fuck you. All right. That's it. Back to the Future Part 2, franchise of the year. We got Part 3 to look forward to at the end of the year. That's going to do it for us right here, right now, in the hot, sexy summer nights. Nick, thanks for being here. I'm going to thank myself for being here because I don't do that ever. So thank you, me. And we want to thank you for being here. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Follow us. Listen, watch. We are at Just Play It Podcast on Instagram and YouTube. We are at Just Play It Pod on X, aka Twitter. You're going to want to join us next time because Nick, your consolation prize for the end of the year quiz portion from last year, you get to pick a movie. It's a surprise movie. Do you have any hints for me? And I can maybe take a guess of what you're going to bring to the table. Have you even decided?
I'd actually decided mid podcast right now. So it is fresh on my brain.
Impulse decision.
I decided just in time. So that's all I'm going to say.
You decided just in time. So Back to the Future Part 3.
There you go.
Time travel movie? Is it Clock Stoppers?
No.
It's not?
That's a good guess. You're on a path, actually.
Okay. All right.
You should explore.
I'll let myself and the audience relish in that. I thought that was a really good guess, actually. Okay. Tune in next time. It's going to be Nick's Pick, hashtag Nick's Pick. When you join us next time here on Just Play It, when we just throw on a movie and guess what? You know what we do with it. We are heading gone. And remember, if you're going into the future, you're probably going to have to go into the past to fix the present. And don't ever call me chicken.
Which I'm not saying we need titanium sacks yet. We're not there yet.
More like a hog hell.
But